Are you aware Rebekah had the ability to make this goat taste like wild game? I find that so interesting. You know, you would have thought at least once a month she'd have given him his favorite food, she has the ability. And so they bring this goat, and I don't know if you've ever eaten any goat. You know what goat tastes like? Goat. It's definitely not roast lamb. They're cousins, but there's a real difference. Now, the Hindus have been among them a lot, and some of you do this in this church. You put curry in that goat, and there's nothing better than curried goat meat and the sauce that goes with it over rice. I mean, I absolutely love it. And there are individuals who make it. When we have a dinner on the ground, they'll say, Dan, my curry is on the third table over. It's not on the first two. My curry is on the third table. And so I can hardly wait to get there. And I get there, and the gluttons have eaten all my curry before I got there. But you understand, goat tastes like goat. It's like when we were in Africa, and we went down to the Carnivore. Carnivore was the name of that restaurant. And they had probably 18 different names on the blackboard there of what my son-in-law said, that's the roadkill they find every day. Because all 18 were not shown all the time. They didn't have them in the refrigerator. They just put a check mark by it. So we were there, and I got crocodile, and I got giraffe, and I got zebra. And guess what crocodile tastes like? It tastes like alligators. That's what it tastes like. So I got the crocodile. The giraffe was okay. It wasn't beef, but you know what zebra tastes like? Horse. I've never eaten a horse in my life, knowingly, but I guarantee it had a horse flavor like you would not remember. Isaac is sitting there waiting, and in walks his son, and he says, he went in and got them and brought them to his mother. Rebekah, verse 15, took the clothes of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, his younger son. Why'd she do that? Why'd you put Esau's clothes? All right. There's the indication that he smelled him. Do your children smell different? Esau and Jacob smell differently. So when Esau walks in, and it's not Esau, but he thinks it's Esau, he smelled his clothes. I find that remarkable. Is she a conniving woman? I think so. Wonder where the trickster learned his trickery. It's real interesting how he's got a mother that's pretty good at it. And so Esau goes into the presence. So he went in and said, my father. He went into father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you, my son? Jacob says to his father, I'm Esau. Trickster. He's not. Well, Esau doesn't believe it. Guess what? Those voices are different between Jacob and Esau. Esau's not had COVID. He's not lost his taste and his smell. He's still got that, and he hasn't lost his hearing. But he said, this is not Esau. And then the text says that he went over and Jacob goes over, and the father touches the back of his neck, and it feels like Esau. What's on the back of his neck?
Goat skin.
Goat hair. Where else is that goat hair? Where'd she put it?
On his hands.
On his hands. Isn't that amazing? You know why they called him hairy? Have you ever rubbed a goat? If you go to a petting zoo, you ought to rub a goat and understand why they called him Harry. I'm serious. And I know goats are different in different parts of the world and everything, and I have that understanding. But I find that as I read this story, I just stand back in amazement that fools Isaac. And so he pronounces a blessing upon him. And so this blessing brought about a tremendous strife between Jacob and Esau. If you want to read the blessing, look in Genesis chapter 27. He thinks he's blessing Esau, and what he says determines the destiny of that child. You got to hear this. I'm starting in verse 27. He came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothes and blessed him, saying, surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which the Lord has blessed. You've been out in God's creation, and the Lord has blessed. Therefore may God give you that which is out in the field, the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth, the plenty of grain and wine. How's that land described later? As a land that flowed with what? Yeah. And he says, may the Lord give you that, and the fatness of the land, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren. How many brethren does he have? One. Now, I understand brethren can be a whole lot more generic than that, but if I'm Esau, or if I were Esau and I heard that, I'd say, yep, finally. That little favored son of my mama's going to get what he deserved, because I am going to be over my brethren. Let your mother's sons bow down to you. I find that interesting. Your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who blessed you. Cannot take it back. That's the destiny he thought he was giving Esau. You ever have plans? Ever seen how those plans come and how they crumble in front of you? And so when Esau comes in, he weeps. The text says he wept bitterly, and he begged his father to give him a blessing. I cannot give you the blessing that I've just given to your brother. So verse 41 says, after all of this has transpired, Esau hated Jacob because of the blessings which his father had blessed him. He hated him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, therefore I will kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son. Surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, son, obey my voice, arise, and go see my brother back over in the land where I came from. And then she says, and stay there. You see the next statement in verse 44? For how long?
A few days.
You know how long a few days are?
20 years.
Did your husband ever say to you, I'll be there in a few minutes? What he does is biblical, because she says a few days, and few days is how long before she sees her son. Are you aware? She could have died and may have died. How long did he work for the first wife? 7 years. How long for the second wife? 7 years. How long for wages? 6 years. Go there for a few days and then come back home. And Jacob leaves thinking, I'm going to be gone for a few days. Jacob has a dream, and we'll start with this next week, but I want to make one point to sort of whet your appetite. He leaves because he's scared to death for his life. And he has a dream. And the dream is of a ladder that goes from earth up to heaven. And guess who is at the top of that ladder? God Himself. And Jacob is amazed, saying, this is more than I can begin to imagine. By the way, God makes the threefold promise to Jacob. That's where we're going to start our class next week. Great land, our great nation, great land, great Savior. What's this Jacob ladder all about? John chapter 1, verse 51. You don't understand Jacob's ladder until you read what Jesus says. Did I say 41? I meant to say 51. I hope I said 51. Jesus says to Nathanael in verse 50, because I saw you under the fig tree. Do you believe? You will see greater things than this. Assuredly I say unto you, hereafter you shall see the heavens open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the sons of man. That's the New Testament application of this place. Now, Jacob named that place where he had the dream Bethel. Bethel means house of God. He put a monument there. He'll come back to this place a little bit later in his life, to Bethel, important Bible place. And the name means house of God. The way to go from earth to heaven is through Bethel. Bethel means house of God. And the New Testament describes the church. 1 Timothy chapter 3, hope to come to you shortly, but if I tarry long, that you may know how you ought to behave yourself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God. Bethel, the church of the living God, is the path to heaven. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I am that ladder. Thank you very much.
A couple things to remember. Rebecca is